नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु यं भागवत सेवया उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणि प्रचण्डिने निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे हरे. Like to summarize last week's class.
I think last time one Prabhuji wanted to summarize. I don't know who's it.
Krishna Vihari Prabhu is not here today.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, because Bhagwan's sense organs are different from sense organs of any ordinary human being, therefore Bhagwan is described as Apanipada. He's without hands and legs. To substantiate this, Srila Jiva Goswami quotes shloka from 10.60.45. Mother Rukmini indirectly indicates the transcendental nature of Bhagwan's form. She says how the human body and its content is like a living corpse. Only a foolish woman who has never relished the fragrance of the honey of your lotus feet would serve a husband who has such a body. So, in this verse, a clear distinction is made between Bhagwan's bodily parts, such as hair, etc., which are blissful in nature, and those of others which are not, which are of inferior nature. So, Jeev Goswami, regarding the material body, he quotes from Vaishnav Toshini. If contents are worn inside out, they would be warding off dogs and vultures with a stick. A person in illusion, Vimuda, is described, who does not get attracted to materialistic life. For that, two shlokas are described 10.87.35, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.10. In previous Anuched, it was spoken, Lord's senses are not material, they are transcendental. Now, Jiva Goswami proves Lord's all but bodily limbs are not material. When Hiranyakashipu is asking benediction from Lord Brahma 7.3.37, the word uses Yasubhirva, Asumadbhirva. Shri Brahma's boon, he should not be killed by animate, inanimate. So if Hiranyakashipu had used the word in Karana sense, in Karana, the instrument, then the meaning would be like, let me not kill by any animate instrument or inanimate instrument. So example of the nails, nails are considered to be both animate and inanimate. Nails are instruments, so consider inanimate when it's cut off and it's to be lifeless. But as the nail grows, it can be called instrument with life. Such a case with an example of instrument, a gun does not grow. So when we give the example of gun, it does not grow. So we take it as a inanimate thing. But when we take the example of nail, it's considered both lifeless and with life. That's a peculiar category. Then coming back to 7.3.27, if we had mentioned it in the Karana sense, ordinary human being with nails would have been killed, would have killed Hiranyakashipu, as nails are in the special category of Karana, which is one with life and without life, and satisfy Brahma's boon, as nails are both animate and inanimate. But nobody was able to kill Hiranyakashipu with nails. Therefore, Hiranyakashipu, when he is using Tritiya Vibhakti, he did not mean Karana, but meant agent, meant Karta. He meant he should not be killed by animate being or inanimate, or not meet death from any Karta who is inanimate. Amongst the kinds of human beings he protected himself against, Hiranyakashipu included those who have life air and those who do not have life air. So again, Vyasubhirva, Asubhirva, Srila Jiva Goswami says this particular statement would have not applied to Krishna. In this world, there are many living entities who breathe and does not breathe. So Hiranyakashipu covered all of them, but failed to cover the Supreme Lord because he has a transcendental body. He does not have eyes, but he has eyes. He does not hear. He does not have ears, but hears. Supreme Lord does not breathe, but breathes. It all comes under special category. And so, in spite of all his precautions, however, Hiranyakashipu, he was killed by Lord Narasimha without Brahma's boons being flouted. The Lord killed him with nails, which implies that his nails are non different than him and therefore satisfies the conduct of being both with and without life air. The Lord's existence is not dependent on his breath, as in the case for human beings. Rather, his breath is in an inherent and natural manifestations of his existence. There, he alone fits the exception to the stringent criteria of set by Hiranyakashipu. So quotes from Mundaka Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishads says that Lord without life, air, and then scriptures appeared from the breathing of the Lord that was said in Brihadaranyaka. This means Bhagwan, he breathes and he's without life, air. So Krishna, is in the special category of Karta. Vara Puran says Lord's form is not material, not composed of fat, marrow, bones, or powerful or infallible. Lord has an eternal form, not through mastery of yoga, but because he's a supreme entity, Ishvara, in whom complete potency, authority, and mastery inherently is present. The Lord has a form like Potter has agency. So he's an agent, implying cognition, volition, and endeavor. And Jivan Shwa means material body is alive solely because of its connection with conscious being, but of its own, it's simply a corpse. On other hand, the Lord's form, being conscious, is by nature. Um, he's okay. So the Lord being conscious by nature, and since his form is inherently eternal, blissful, and conscious, the worship of his form is appropriate. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you. So, we are discussing the 49th anuccheda, almost completed. Some section of the purport is remaining. I'll go through that. So, the last section of the anuccheda will go through. Atha evoktam varahe. From the Varaha Purana, it is mentioned. Natasya prakrita murtir meda majjasti sambhava na yogitvadishwaratvat satyarupochuto vibhuhu. In the Varaha Purana, it is mentioned. The Lord's form is not material. Na prakrita murtihi. Natasya prakrita murtihi. And Meda Natasya prakrita murtir Medo majjasti sambhava. Meda means fat. Lord's form is not composed of meda, fat, majja, marrow, and asti, bones. Na yogitvad ishwaratvad satya rupo achyuto vibhuhu. Vibhuhu means the all-powerful. The all-powerful.
Meda means what?
Meda means fat. Majja is the marrow. Asti is the bone. So the same Bhagavatam
and
shloka.
that is Medha or something, the one which is
That is Medha. Medha.
in Bhagavad Gita, that Medha.
That is the brain actually.
Achha, okay.
Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Bangasya Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Praye Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Sumedasaha. Medasaha. Medha. That is the Mahaprana. The fourth Dakara. This is the third Dakara.
So that Medha, which is intelligence, is
Sumedasaha means
Medha,
those who
which is
are.
intelligence.
Yeah, what is the question?
Yeah. Then Medha, what is that? Intelligence, some opulence of
Medha means
Krishna. What is
intelligence.
that? Medha
Sumedasaha means
is what is?
there is, I think there is a lagging of the voice. Medha means intelligence. Sumedasaha means
Okay.
the highly intelligent people. They worship the Lord Chaitanya by performing Sankirtan. So Medha, the Medhavi Chinna Samshayaha, Medhavi, Medha refers to intelligence. Medasaha, it refers to intelligent people. That the fourth Dakara is used. But here, Medha, the third Dakara, Alpa Prana. Medha, Medha. So Medha refers to fat, Majja is the marrow, Dasti is the bones. The all-powerful Lord Vibhuhu, Achyuta, the infallible Lord, he has Satya Rupa. He has an eternal form. Here the Satya means eternal. Has an eternal form. And this eternal form, it's not that he has obtained this eternal form by performing certain yogasanas. Na yogitvad. Not through the mastery of yoga. He is eternally having that form. Na yogitvad. Na yogitvad ishwaratvad. Because he is the supreme entity, Ishvara, in whom the complete potency, authority, and mastery are inherently present. Therefore, he has an eternal form. So, tacha aprakrita murtitvam tasya mahayogitvat chit mahayogitvat ichchakritam iti na kintu ishwaratvat nityameva ityartah. Same meaning. In other words, the Lord's non-material form is eternal because he is the supreme entity in whom all the Shaktis are eternally present. His form is not manifest as a function of his will because of the mastery over the yoga. Rather, his form is eternally present and all the Shaktis are eternally present. Tatacha prayogaha. The logical formulation is this. Ishvaraha savigraha ज्ञानेच्छा प्रयत्नवत् कर्तृत्वात् कुलालादिवत् तच विग्रहो नित्यः ईश्वरकरणत्वात् तज्ज्ञानम् आदिवदिति अतएव विलक्षणत्वमपि. So Ishwarah, Savigraha, the Lord has a form. Why? Because like a potter, Kulala means a pot maker. Kulal Adivat. Because like a potter, Bhagavan has Jnana, Ichcha and Prakriti. Jnana, Ichcha and Prayatna. A potter, he has a knowledge of making a pot. And then he develops a desire to make a pot. And then he puts endeavor. Just like a potter has Jnana, Ichcha and Prayatna. And the potter has a form. Similarly, the Lord has a form because he has Jnana, Ichcha and Prayatna. And this form is Sacha Vigraha Nitya, that form is eternal. Ishvara Karanatva ta Jnanadivaditi. Just like his cognition and other attributes. Jnana Adivat, just like his Jnana, cognition and other attributes, his form is eternal. His form is eternal. And because it is the sense or the instrument of the supremely potent eternal entity. This form is eternal, just like his cognition and other attributes, because it is the sense or the instrument of the supremely potent eternal entity. Therefore, it is categorically different from mortal forms. So, Jiva Goswami is further elaborating actually how the Lord's form is categorically different from other forms. We actually keep changing our forms according to our karma. But the Lord's form is eternal, and all the Shaktis are inherently present in that form. And then the last paragraph, Jivan Shavam. You see in the shloka 10.60.45, the second line, Jiva Chavam Bhajati, like that it comes. Jiva Chavam Bhajati. So he's taking that part. Jiva Chavam iti Chaitanya Yogena Jivantam Swatastu Shavam. Jiva Chavam means basically a living corpse. Shava means a dead body. Jiva means living. Jiva Chava means the living corpse. The words living corpse mean that the material body is alive solely because of its connection with the conscious being. Chaitanya Yogena Jivantam Swatastu Shavam. Because the material body is alive because of its connection with the conscious being. Swatastu Shavam, but of its own, it is simply a corpse, it's a dead body. But as long as the soul is present and that corpse has a life, the dead body has a life. Tataha Shri Bhagavat Vigrahastu Chid Ekarasatvat Sada Jivan Eva iti Vailakshanyam Yuktam Nityananda Chidrupatvad Bhajaniyatvam cha Yuktam iti Bhavaha Shri Rukmini Shri Bhagavantam. But in the case of the Lord's form, on the other hand, being conscious by nature, it is always alive. Sada Jivan Eva iti. Vailakshanyam, the difference is that this is the difference between the body of a Jivatma and the body of the Supreme Lord. And furthermore, Nityananda Chidrupatva, since his form is inherently eternal, blissful and conscious, Bhajaniyatvam, the worship of his form is appropriate. Bhajaniyatvam cha yuktam iti. The worship of the Lord's form is appropriate. And is to be eternally worshipped. Not that you worship the Lord's form as a tool with the aim to actually ultimately become one with the Brahma. So rather, the worship of the Bhagavan's form is appropriate and it's eternal to be worshipped. So I'll discuss the appropriate portion of the purport. So this proves that the Lord's limbs are transcendental and a part of his Swarupa Shakti. Based on the Hiranyakashipu shloka. As such, the statement from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that the Vedas and the Vedic literature appeared from the breath of the Supreme is neither false nor allegorical. Moreover, the Lord's body is not manifest by the yogic power. but exists eternally, like himself, and can never be separated from him. It is not living due to contact with the Lord's Atma, as is the case with the material body. It is pure consciousness and therefore worshipable. So Lord's form is not the same thing. It's not because of, like Prabhupada often says that it is not that Bhagavan became Bhagavan by performing some tapasya. Some people in this world, they perform some yoga siddhis and then they perform some tapasya, get some siddhis, and then they say, oh, now I have become God. Bhagavan is always Bhagavan. So finally, Jiva Goswami offers a logical proof that the Lord has a body and that therefore it is eternal and transcendental. The logical steps are given as follows. So in the Anumana Pramana is called as a logical proof. Anumana Pramana, there are 5 steps are there. First is the proposition, I think pratigya. Second is the hetu. And then the third step is you give a universal principle. The particular term I forget. Universal principle. And then you apply the universal principle. That's the fourth step. And then the fifth step is that you are proving it, the conclusion. So the proposition is that Bhagavan's form is eternal. And what is the reason? Because Bhagavan's form is his instrument. Ishvara Karanatvad. We read Ishvara Karanatvad because it is his instrument. And what is the universal principle? Whatever serves as Bhagavan's instrument, such as his knowledge, they are all eternal. You see, the Sacha Vigraha Nityaha Ishvara Karanatvat Tad Jnanadivaditi. We read this sentence. The different Shaktis like Jnana, Icha, they are all actually Bhagavan's instrument and they are all eternal. This is a universal proposal, it's a universal principle. Whatever serves as Bhagavan's instrument, such as his knowledge, is eternal. And now Bhagavan's body is also his instrument in creation. And therefore the conclusion is that his body is also eternal. This is the 5-step this thing Yoga Goswami is saying. So Nyaya is a realistic philosophy and logicians accept that the Lord is eternal and real. So according to Nyaya Shastra, they accept Bhagavan is eternal and real. Jiva Goswami does not go into the details of logic here because it would be out of context. Interested readers may study Nyaya Kusmanjali of Sri Udayanacharya, wherein the author offers detailed logical proof for the existence of God. Because the Lord is eternal, all his attributes and instruments such as his will, knowledge and action are also eternal. If his knowledge is eternal, then naturally its substratum is also eternal. If the knowledge is eternal, the substratum means what? There is a dravya and the dravya has a guna. Earth is a dravya. And what is the guna present in the earth? Gandha. Gandhavati Prithvi. If the guna is eternal, and the guna is always present in a dravya. If the Bhagavan's knowledge is eternal, then naturally the substratum of that knowledge, that is a body, that is also eternal. Because the attributes of the eternal substance are similarly eternal. Nityagatam Nityam. So according to logic, something is considered eternal if it is both without beginning and an end. Nityam means what? It neither has a beginning nor will have an end. There was never a time when the Lord's body did not exist, nor will it ever cease to exist. In contrast to this, Rukmini Devi calls mortal beings as Jivan Shava. That means they are actually dead, but appear to live going to contact with the Jivatma. The Lord's body is not like that, as it is conscious by its very nature. This is the implication of the word Jivan Shava. So, but there is a, yeah, there are actually two steps of logic. I read this thing. So simple.
It is that pratigna, hetu, vyapti, udaran, and nigama. Is it like that? Something
Yeah,
which
yes,
you had
same
said?
thing.
Five
Same thing,
steps
same.
in Anuman Praman.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one more paragraph I missed out. So this proves that the Lord's limbs are transcendental and a part of his Surupa Shakti. Finally, Jiva Goswami offers a logical proof that the Lord has a body and that there, furthermore it is eternal and transcendental. Logical steps are given as follows. The proposition is that the first logical proof is that Bhagavan must have a form. This is what he wants to intends to prove. Bhagavan must have a form. The reason is that because he is the creator and a possessor of knowledge, will, and the capacity for action. Because he has jnana, ichcha, and kriti. Yes, like a Kulala pot maker has jnana, ichcha, and prayatna. Similarly, Bhagavan has jnana, ichcha, and prayatna. So therefore, he is the creator. And he possesses knowledge, will, and capacity. Therefore, he must also have a
So
form. This is the reason.
prayatna and kriti is same.
Same. And the universal proposition is that whoever creates must have a body, like a potter. Anybody creates something in this world, they must have a body, like a potter has a body. And then application, apply this principle here. Bhagavan created the universe. And therefore, he must have a form. This is the 5-step of Vedic logic called as Anumana Praman. Pratigna, Hetu, what is the third term you said? Vyapti, yeah, Vyapti Jnana and Pratigna, Hetu, Vyapti, and fourth is that apply that Vyapti Jnana, Udaharana,
Udaharan and nigaman.
Nigama, conclusion.
And nigaman. Nigaman.
So creative action indicates that an agent must have a knowledge. Because if somebody is performing an action, that means he must have a knowledge. Before action implies that he has a desire. Desire implies that he has a knowledge. But mere knowledge is not sufficient. People have various types of knowledge, but that does not mean that they use it to create. The will to create, Ichcha, must also be present. But that is also insufficient on its own. The creator must have a sufficient energy, prayatna, and the means to engage in the act of creation. So furthermore, there should be no insurmountable impediments during the process of doing so. So when all these conditions are met, the work of creation can be carried out. So, knowledge, will, and working capacity are attributes and can only reside in a substance, that means a dravya. Knowledge, desire, and the working capacity, they can only reside in a substance or a dravya. Gunavatva samavayi karanatvam dravyatvam. Knowledge cannot reside in an inert matter. And jnanadikaranam atma. The jnana, knowledge, can only reside in a living atma. It cannot reside in an inert matter. So therefore, the atma is the substratum of the knowledge. And therefore, it is concluded that the Lord, who is the creator of the universe, he also has knowledge, will, and energy needed for creation. Therefore, he must also be a conscious being. So this in turn naturally infers that he must have a body. But his body could be either material or spiritual. To prove that his body is spiritual, Jiva Goswami offers another Anumana Pramana. What is that? That is what we saw that. Bhagavan's form is eternal because it is an instrument. Whatever serves as Bhagavan's instrument, such as his knowledge, is eternal. And Bhagavan's body is his instrument in creation, and therefore Bhagavan's body is eternal. In this way, he is using the two logical methodologies, Anumana Pramana. First logical methodology is to prove that Bhagavan has a form. Bhagavan has a form. The reason given is that because he is a creator possessed of jnana, ichcha, and kriti. Kriti means yatna, prayatna. So by that he proves that Bhagavan has a form, because anything which has knowledge, anything which creates something must have a body. Therefore Bhagavan has a form. And then the next is that Bhagavan's form is spiritual, or Bhagavan's form is eternal. For that he says that whatever serves us, because the Bhagavan's form is his instrument, and whatever serves as an instrument, such as his knowledge is eternal. And since this body is also his instrument, therefore this body must also be eternal. And therefore Bhagavan's body is worshipable. It's appropriate to worship that Bhagavan's form. Foolish people worship the forms of the mortal living entities, which are made of blood, marrow, stone, urine, pus, etc. That is the Rukmini Devi. So we'll go to the next 50th Anucheda. 50th Anucheda, the topic is that contradictory statements are reconciled by Jiva Goswami. So the main shloka for this Anucheda is from the Hamsa Guhya prayers, 6th canto, 4th chapter, 32nd shloka. Hamsa Guhya prayers were offered by Daksha Prajapati. These prayers are present long back. They were offered by Daksha Prajapati to glorify Vishnu. When Vishnu appeared in front of Daksha Prajapati, the Daksha Prajapati actually offered these prayers. Nama Rupitva Vidhi Nisheda Shrutibir Vivadamananam Vivadavasare Tadeva Yupapadayati. In the following verse, Sri Daksha sets forth the transcendental nature of the Lord's name and form for the sake of those who argue amongst themselves over the Vedic statements that either deny or accept the Lord's name and form. So there are many people, there are contradictory statements in the Vedas, and such people they keep arguing. Some people say the Lord does not have a form. Other people say the Lord has a form. So, Daksha Prajapati, in order to like in that connection, Daksha Prajapati proves that how the Lord's form is transcendental. Especially for those people who are arguing among themselves how the Lord's form is Lord has a form or does not have a form. That in that connection, this particular verse can be taken. Astiti nastiti cha vastu nishtha astiti nasti cha vastu nishtyor ekastayor bhinna viruddha dharmanoh avaikshitam kinchana yoga sankhyayoh samam param hyanukulam brihattat. What is the meaning? The adherents of yoga and sankhya. Yoga sankhya yoho. The adherents of yoga and sankhya are intent on the truth. So they are intent on the truth, which is one and the same entity for both. But they attribute different and
What is the
opposing
meaning of
characteristics.
intent on truth?
The adherents of yoga and sankhya are
Guruji,
intent
what
on
is the
the
meaning of intent?
focused.
Intent on truth.
They are focused on the truth, which is one and the same entity for both of them. But they attribute different and opposing characteristics to that one entity. Some of them, they affirm that this truth has a qualities, this truth has a form. But there are others who negate the attributes of that absolute truth. So both of them see the same, they both see that same something which is transcendental, favorable to their understanding and supremely great. They both see that same something which is transcendental, favorable and great. Vastu nishtayor samam param hanukulam brihattat. Param, they see the same entity which is param, transcendental, anukulam, favorable, and brihat, which is great. But these two people, the school of yoga and school of sankhya, both are focused on the same absolute truth, but they are seeing from different angles. So some people say the absolute truth as form, and the other form and qualities, and there are others who negate the form and qualities. Both of them are focused on the same entity, and the nature of that entity is param, anukulam, and brihat, transcendental, favorable, and great. Further, now the explanation of the shloka. Asti iti yoga स्थूल upasana ashastram. Asti iti, the system that affirms the existent. Asti means present. The school which affirms the existence of names and forms in the absolute, that school is the yoga school. The yoga school, Ashtanga yoga school, they accept that the Lord has form and qualities. Tatrahi yud bhagavato nama rupitvam श्रूयते तद दृष्ट कल्प नालागवाद घटपटादि लक्षण अखिल नामधेयत्वं पाताल पादादिकत्वं च इति विधीयते. So tatrahi, in this context, the yoga refers to the scripture that prescribes worship of the absolute through gross or visible form. So yoga school, what is this yoga school refer to? Yoga refers to the scripture which prescribes worship of the absolute truth to the gross or visible form. The descriptions of the Lord's names and the forms in this system include the names of all things, such as the pot or a cloth, and also all forms such as the Patala planet, which is considered to be his feet. So yoga system affirms worship through the material form because of the ease with which one can contemplate objects that have already been seen. So the yoga school talks about worship of the form. They describe the universal form of the Lord, which is material. Because this universal form can be something easily appreciated by a person who is in the materialistic conception. A person is used to perceiving different objects in this world, and when he cannot appreciate the transcendental form, such a person, to elevate him, the worship or meditation on the universal form is recommended. So the yoga system affirms such worship. And then the next paragraph, he talks about the Sankhya school. Nasti iti Sankyam Jnana Shastram. The system that negates the existence. Nasti iti. Negates the existence of the attributes of the absolute. That is the Sankhya school or the Jnana Shastra. Tatra hi निषेध श्रुतिभिस्तस्य नाम रूपित्वं यन् निषिध्यते यत् प्रापंचिक नाम रूपित्वस्य कल्पितत्वात् सर्वतैव नास्ति इति निश्चीयते. So in this jnana system, in the Sankhya system, the absolute truth is denied a name and form, and they use the Vedic statements only by using the negative statements in the Vedas. So because the names and forms in the material world are merely thought constructs, it is concluded that the absolute truth has no names and forms whatsoever. This is what the Sankhya school they say. Sankhya school say nasti iti. Yoga school say that asti iti. And then now your doubt is further is trying to reconcile. Taduktam ubaya matasyaiva prak sa sarvanama sacha vishwarupaha. Another verse from the same Hamsa Guhya prayer, 6:428. Ityadina yadyan niruktam vachasa nirupitam. 6:429. Ityadina cha astiti nastiti cha vastuni nishta yayoho. So the two opinions referred to in the shloka are mentioned in the earlier in the two verses of the Hamsa Guhya prayers. That is 6:428. Sa sarvanama sacha vishwarupaha. Sa sarvanama sacha vishwarupaha. The opinion present in this shloka is the yoga school. He has all names and all forms. And then 6:429. Yadyan niruktam vachasa nirupitam. Whatever is described through speech and ascertained by intelligence, whatever is perceived by the senses and conceived by the mind, this is all a product of Maya and is not the absolute reality. This is another shloka in the same Hamsa Guhya prayer. The 6:29, the opinion of the Sankhya school is mentioned. So therefore, both the philosophy of Asti Iti and Nasti Iti have the same entity. Both of them are focused on the same entity, that is the absolute truth, as a common subject. Astiti nastiti cha vastuni nishta eyoho. Their nishta, their focus is only on the absolute truth. But some people, their focus, they say absolute has no attributes, and they quote the negative statements of the Vedas. And there are other people who say that the Bhagavan has a name, form, etc. Bhagavan's form includes everything, and yoga system says that yoga system recommends worship of that material form of the Lord, because of the ease with which one can contemplate objects that have already been seen. So now, so the present shloka is 6432. So in this shloka 6432, Daksha is clarifying the dispute between the yoga school and the Sankhya school. So tameva vivadam sputayati. Daksha clarifies the nature of the dispute between the two systems. Bhinnau asti iti nasti iti evam bhuto viruddho dharmau yayostayoho. They attribute different and opposing characteristics to the absolute truth, either by affirmation or by negation. Either by affirmation or by negation, they attribute different and especially opposite characteristics to the absolute truth. And then he says that Nanvas Nanvasta Manayor Binna Vishayatvam Na Ityaha Ekastayoho Samana Vishayoho. A doubt is raised. Why not assume that these two systems describe different entities? Why not say that yoga school is focused on something else, Sankhya school is focused on something else? Na ityaga, that is not true. Because the verse is clearly saying that ekastayoho, that both are focused on the same entity. One and the same entity for both. Ekastayoho samana vishayoho. Tadevam vivade sati tayoryat kinchit samam samanjasattvena eva avekshitam pratitam vastutat dvayorapi brihan mahad anukulam bhavati. So in the matter of such a controversy, Jnana Shustra, Yoga school and the Sankhya school having such controversy, so whatever entity is perceived by the disputants as being the synthesis of their particular view, that same entity, though perceived in opposing ways, will be viewed by both onlookers as great and favorable to their own specific outlook. So what is he saying here? See, yoga school and Sankhya school, they perceive the same entity in a different ways. Yoga school says the entity is actually having attributes. Sankhya school says the entity does not have attributes. In such a controversy, although they are perceiving in the opposite ways, but both these people, they look upon that entity as Brihat and Anukulam. Both are focused on the same entity, and they understand that this entity which we are focused on, just 1 minute, they understand that this entity which they are focused is Anukula, favorable, and also great. Yes, sir. There is some delay, it looks like.
Haribol, what is the difference you said about yoga and Sankhya?
Yoga school says that the absolute truth has a form. Sankhya school says that absolute truth does not have form and qualities.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
So it's like a that pendulum, no? So the bhakti school says both, right? So even not even this and not even that. It's both, right?
Bhakti school says that Bhagavan has a transcendental form. So yoga school actually says that absolute truth has a form, but they describe the form of the absolute truth in terms of the gross visible form. They prescribe worship of the absolute truth through the gross visible form, the Virata Rupa. The yoga system affirms worship through the material form. And Sankhya school says that the Lord, they negate the form and qualities of the absolute truth. Both are focused on the same entity, but they have difference in this viewpoints. But another thing is that both of them understand that this particular form or entity is anukula, favorable, and also it is something very great. It's favorable and great. And then further he says that Kim tat samanjasam.
Brihat is great or favorable.
Brihat,
What is
Brihat
Brihat?
means great, Anukula means favorable. So Kim tat samanjasam. Kim tat samanjasam, that means what is the nature of that entity in which such a synthesis is found? How can we synthesize both the opinions? And what is the nature of that entity? So, yat param nama rupad atyanta tad abhavacha vilakshanam yatra yugapan nama rupitvam anama rupitvam api vaktum shakyate tad vilakshanam kimapi nama rupa lakshanameva vastu ityartha. So this entity is para, transcendental, param. What does it mean? Nama rupatva, nama rupad atyanta tad abhavacha. It is completely beyond material nature and form. Nama rupad atyanta tad abhavacha. That it is completely beyond material name and form, as well as beyond their total absence. Tad abhavat is beyond material name and form, as well as beyond their total absence. Wherein it is possible to say that it both does so it is para, which is to say that it is completely beyond material name and form, as well as beyond their total absence. Wherein it is possible to say that it both does and does not have a form and name simultaneously. That means that such a distinct entity would certainly be inclusive of name and form. So how do we reconcile yoga school and the Sankhya school? Yoga school and the Sankhya school both actually describe that entity. Both are focused on the same entity, which is great and which is favorable. And both of them describe in different ways. Some people say Asti, this entity has form qualities. Another school describes that it does not have a form and qualities. So how do we reconcile is that Param, this entity is transcendental. That means it is completely beyond material name and form, as well as beyond their total absence. That it is beyond the absence of name and form, and it is beyond the presence of the material name and form. Sankhya school says that this entity does not have name and form. Yoga school says that this entity has a material name and form. What is the, and both of them use certain statements of the Vedas. But actually, what is the true nature of the entity? It is param, transcendental. Because it is transcendental, it is beyond something which has a material name and form, and it is beyond something which does not have material name and form. And then further he says, just two paragraphs, then we'll end. Etaduktam bhavati ekasmin eva vastuni nama rupitva vidhi nishedabhyam parasparam shrutayah parahartataha syuhu. It may be suggested that if the affirmative and the negative statements of the Shrutis regarding name and form apply equally to the same entity, then that would make them self-contradictory. One may say that the statements which talk about Asti, the Bhagavan has a name and form, and Nasti, which does not have a name and form, if they are equally applicable to the same entity, then it leads to contradiction. So then atratu paratvena ubayatrapi praktana yuktya samanjasam aprakrita nama rupitvameva vidhi nisheda shruti tatparyena upastapyate iti tattanmatam vivadamatram. So, but because both the perspectives accept that entity as transcendental, so by the above stated reasoning, a synthesis can be arrived, or by considering his name and form as being beyond material nature. And this synthesis is established through the actual import of both the positive and negative statements of the Shrutis. And therefore, any contention between the two systems is merely apparent. This is also described by Dhruva Maharaj. Ittameva atra Shri Dhruvena nirvivadatva muktam. Dhruva Maharaj also speaks of this reconciliation in the same manner. Reconciling these affirmative statements and the negative statements. Next he quotes a prayer from Dhruva Maharaj. Tiriyannagat dvijasari shripadeva daitya martyadi viparichitam sadasad vishesham rupam stavishtamajate mahadadyanekam nata param parama vedminayatra vadaha. O unborn Lord, I am unable to know, I am able to know only this gross cosmic form that is full of animals, trees, mountains, birds, reptiles, devas, asuras, human beings, and so on, and composed of many elements like the Mahat, all intertwined in a chain of cause and effect. But until now, I do not know what lies beyond all this, wherein all the controversies find resolution. Nata param parama vedmi na yatra vadaha. Na yatra vadaha. Till now, I have not actually experienced, or I do not know that form, I do not know that entity who exists beyond all the visible manifestation, where all the contradictions are reconciled. Nayatra vadaha, wherein all the controversies find resolution. So Bhagavan Krishna is the one in which all the controversies are reconciled. You are that entity in which all the controversies can be reconciled. And then finally he says, with this paragraph we will end. Atra Rupa Shabdasyaiva Ubayatra Visheshyattvena Bhupa Murtam Amurtam cha Param Chaparam Evacha Vishnu Purana Iti Vaishnava Vakyanu Sarena cha. In this verse, it is referring to that I think Daksha Prajapati's verse 6432. 1 minute. No, in this verse refer to Tiriyan Nagar Visari Rupam. Yeah, in this verse referring to the Dromara's prayer. Dromara's prayer, the word Rupam is coming. Na? That is a Rupa Shabda. Atra Rupa Shabdasyaiva Ubayatra Visheshyattvena Bhupa Murtam Amurtam cha Param Chaparam Evacha iti Vaishnava Vakyanu Sarena cha. In this verse, the word Rupa refers to the Lord's body characterized by features such as 4 hands and which is simultaneously beyond all this. The word Rupa refers to the Bhagavan's body, and the Rupa also refers to that which is simultaneously beyond all this. Rupam Savishtam Ajate Mahadadyanekam. Ataha Param Chaturbhujadivat Lakshanam Rupam Vapurityartaha Tacha Agre Darshayishyate Tan na vedmi etat paryantam kalam na agyasisham ityartaha. So this is to be concluded from the fact that such an entity meets the criteria of the absolute both through affirmation and negation of the name and form. Furthermore, the absolute is an entity both inclusive of transcendental form and beyond material form. Is also confirmed with the statement from the Vishnu Purana. What is the statement from the Vishnu Purana? O king, he is both with and without form. He is both with and without form. He is both transcendental and phenomenal. This will be demonstrated later on. The phrase I do not know, na vedmi, means I do not know until now. Na vedmi etat paryantam kalam na agyasisham ityartaha. And then further he continues, 6433, which we'll see next class. Just 1 minute. We can quickly go through. A commentary will go through next week. Actually. Commentary to this section so far will go through next week. And then we'll also take up the next part of the anuccheda also will complete it next week. So in this particular anuccheda, Jiva Goswami is trying to reconcile the contradictory statement. There is a yoga school and the Sankhya school. The opinion of the yoga school is described in 6428. The opinion of the Sankhya school is described in 6429. And the current verse is 6432. Current verse is 6432, the Hamsa Guhya prayer. In this actually shloka, both these opinions of the yoga school and the Sankhya school are being reconciled here. Both are focused on the same entity. One yoga school describes that entity, describes worship or meditation on the entity which has a material form. Sankhya school, they say that the entity does not have a form, attributes, etc. So then the reconciliation is described in the shloka. We will also discuss further the shloka next week. Hare Krishna. It's little difficult to definitely. Sandarbhas are not stories. It's little difficult to understand. You have to pay little close attention. Sometimes go through repeatedly, twice, thrice, to understand what is the logic presented by universe of math. Anybody has any questions or comments?
So, Prabhuji, when we say the scriptures, they are the breath, like the emanations from Lord, or we say like that how Lord is in it eternal, the Vedas are also eternal. So, how do we say that? Like, what do we say? Hmm.
The Vedas are co-eternal with the Bhagavan. Because Bhagavan is eternal, his breathing is also eternal.
Co-eternal. Oh.
His breathing is also eternal. And so, in that sense, from one point of view, Bhagavan has given equal status to the Vedas. The Vedas are eternal like Bhagavan. At the same time, the breath of any person is subordinate to the person. In that sense, the Vedas are subservient to the person Bhagavan. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Krishna Bihari Pro, you are in the train or something.